Where have you come from? Think about it. There are so many answers to this question depending on how you read it. I can tell you that I come from Ireland, Leinster, Dublin, Swords, Newcourt, my house. But I can also come from a crazy family. I can come from a wild group of weird friends. I can come from a community of artists, poets, songwriters in Dublin City. There is a bunch of answers to this question. But what makes me think about it today is a little walk I went on in Lyon. I was at a friend's house the other day, and they asked me what I thought of Lyon, what I thought of the culture here in France. And I was a little unkind, I guess. I was a little unkind at the start, and I was like trying to save it by pointing out some really nice things about it. And one thing that I've really noticed in France is such an appreciation for culture, for art, for craft, for making. Where in Ireland, we don't really care too much about public art. We don't care too much about giving money to the arts. We don't care about building an infrastructure that would create beautiful art. It's really, really sad. Like, our institutions are just not equipped to deal with the sheer amount of creative force in the Irish people. It's insane. And by the same token, Irish people, we kind of undervalue art. And that's kind of for two reasons, I guess. We have an overabundance of it. Like, everybody's brother is a frickin' songwriter, and every other person's uncle is a poet. And everybody you know knows somebody who is some kind of artistic creator. So we have an overabundance of art. But secondly, Ireland is an intensely neoliberal country. We don't realize this because we like to think of ourselves as quite leftist, but we really hate poor people and we really love money, and we don't really have a place or space for art in that ideology. We don't really value art in the same way that a lot of other places historically do. If you look at Germany, for instance, they kind of have the opposite situation to Ireland. They don't have enough artists because the culture there doesn't value the career path of art. So most of my German friends who wanted to be creatives were convinced not to be creatives by their parents, and they went with it. And so in Germany, you have so many people who never made art their profession, and you also have so many people who just love listening to music. They just love art for some reason over there. And France is kind of that little mixture of both. France appreciates art. It understands the value of taking a career in the arts, and it is somewhat supported by the institutions in this country. And that's kind of what I explained to them about some of the really nice things about France, about Lyon, and the culture here. And this came back up to me again on my walk because I realized just the sheer amount of public art in Lyon is unbelievable. It is inescapable. It is everywhere. When I was walking through the city, I would film a piece of art that I liked, and then I looked to the right and there was another 3 pieces of art that I liked just slapped up against the wall. Some of them looked like a decade old and they were ripped off and they were still gorgeous. Some of them were scrawled on with a pen. And there's just in every nook and cranny some kind of artistic expression. Yeah? And this brings me back to where I come from. If you ask an artist, like, where did you start? They have too many answers to this question because, yeah, I picked up a guitar when I was 9, but I didn't start being an artist then. And sure, I was a circus performer from the age of 15, but I wouldn't have called myself an artist back then. Then you could maybe say, when did I write my first song? When did I decide to take this as a career path? And these are all good answers for where I come from as an artist. But really, I always trace back my decision to work in the arts to a strange little blog I had on Facebook. A friend of mine at the time was in a bad place, and I forget why. But to cheer her up, me and another person decided to get her out of the house by any means necessary. She was an artist, she loved to paint. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll do something in the arts. We'll go around Swords, we'll find public art, we'll photograph it. We have a sign that says art is here, and we're going to bring awareness to the sheer amount of creativity that is all around us all the time. And this began my first ever project in the arts. The first thing I ever decided to do and took control of myself. So Art Everywhere is what it was called. It was a cute little Facebook blog where we started off just highlighting art in the town. And eventually we moved into highlighting artists in the town. And that led me to create a little network of artists, which went on to create an arts advocacy group called the Castle Theatre. And that was our big group that tried to get a push to build a theatre in Swords, which is being built, might I say. Proud of that one. And then from here, of course, I go on and pursue my own music career. It was through that project I met my music mentor who told me I could have a music career if I tried hard enough. I don't know if she lied to me, but we'll see. We'll see. I often think about that time as the beginning, as this weird little happenstance of how I ended up working in art, in creativity. And this is such a great introduction to art, because the thing about artists, we're all quite similar in what we learn to do. To be an artist is to look differently. I don't mean appear different. I mean to see different. Artists look at things in different ways. This is something Bob Ross taught me when I got into him watching The Joy of Painting. We all have a phase, right? But he talks about this moment where he says that his teacher taught him that when you draw, when you paint, it teaches you to look at the world in different ways, in layers, in shades, in highlights, in shapes, in proportions. And it teaches you to look at the natural world or even just people in this very unique way that reveals something very beautiful about just the shape of life, the shape of the things life creates. And that unique way of looking is really the ultimate gift an artist can give to somebody who doesn't dedicate their life to art. If you can show somebody a little strange thing in their world, if you can show them a perspective of the world that they did not consider, you've done your job well. This runs true for music. This runs true for circus and theatre and all manner of storytelling and artistic forms. We are trying to decorate the world in such a way that it shows a different, unique side of that world to people who look at it. And this, I cannot help but think, is so inherent in street art, in street creativity, in things that you see on the street, because you're walking down past the shops and everybody's trying to sell you things. You turn a corner and then there's a 10-foot lady reading a book about Keith Haring. Just there on the wall. She's not trying to sell you anything. She might be inviting you in to maybe check out who Keith Haring is. Why is he so important that she's reading him? Or at least flicking through one of his art books. You know what I mean? Art invites, it doesn't sell. Street art is such a beautiful thing to have in the world, because advertising is narrowing your worldview. Street art is expanding it. I always think about this particular image. I saw it somewhere in a documentary, an underground station for the metro in North Korea, right? And I think it's Pyongyang is the city. something was so striking about this underground metro was that everywhere you might see an advertisement, there was instead an artwork built on propaganda. So this is not a perfect alternative. Yeah. But it's a strange experience because you just realize how much advertising is everywhere. It's like that scene in They Live when he puts on the glasses for the first time and he looks around and he realizes not only how much advertising there is, but what that advertising is doing to his brain. So yeah, I went on a journey around Lyon and I have just rambled on a little bit about it. These videos are supposed to be chill, they're supposed to be low effort, and they're supposed to be fun. Lately, I've been not enjoying the process. I've been questioning my decision to do a video every week. And in order to get some of that fun back, I'm going to just chill on quality. I'm not going to try to make anything good. I'm just going to ramble to you for however many minutes this comes out to be. I encourage you to go into your streets. I encourage you to look for artwork. I encourage you to make artwork. I encourage you to do illegal things like painting a pole a pretty color. Fucked up, that's illegal, right? Oh, so yeah, go out and break the law in a very positive way. If you get sued or arrested, tell them I told you to, and I will go to jail on your behalf. Sound good? Yep. Perfect. I'll talk to you then. Goodbye.